Hello everybody, welcome back to the great state of Montana. Hi, this is the Carbine Cowboy coming at you today with another video. Hey, I wanted to talk to you about the 1911 A1 45 automatic. Yes, I know for some of you this will be an old boring video, but I'm going to kind of spice it up a little. Been seeing a lot of hate lately on the net about the 1911. You know, why do people hate it so much? Well, you know, she's not the youngest girl at the ball. She's dated 1911, but it is the most copied, most mass-produced handgun in the world. Now, to reiterate on that, you can go to Japan, Germany, Africa, just about anywhere in the English-speaking world, mention the Colt 1911, and just about pretty much everybody you talk to knows exactly what you're talking about. The government 45 automatic. Yep. The old slab sides. The Iron Mule. The 45 automatic. Now, a lot of people say, today, why would somebody want to carry an antique firearm? 7-8 shot magazine, doesn't have a high round count. Okay, well, let me ask you a question. FBI statistics claim the average shooting is over in 3 to 5 shots. 5 on the outside. 3 or less is the normal. Okay? So, if that is the case, does a high cap magazine really do you any good? Now, before people yell at me and say, well, what happens if you're engaging multiple targets? Okay, let's take that scenario. You're engaging multiple targets. How many people only carry one magazine for their handgun? Okay? If you think by having a higher round count in your firearm is going to make you better in a defensive shooting scenario, I think maybe you better do a little more thinking about your mindset. Okay? Because, you know, it seems awful funny to me that single shots, Derringers, you know, double barrels, 6 guns, 6, 7 round autoloaders have been around since Moses was a baby. And guess what? They put a lot of good and bad guys 6 feet under, if you get my drift. And guess what? They engaged multiple targets too. You know, the local sheriff, you know, back when some of these states were still territories, he carried maybe 1 or 2 6 guns. Sometimes he went up against 3 or 4 bad guys that were again carrying 1 or maybe 2 handguns or a handgun and a rifle. So, you know, when people sit back and say, well, what about engaging multiple targets? Well, let me put it like this. Are you walking down a street in Fallujah where you're a security detail or in the service and being put in harm's way where your neck is on the line? No. And even at that, I will argue, most of those boys are carrying a long gun, whether it be an M4 or a shotgun or a good AK. They ain't packing just a pistol. They carrying a rifle. And they got all the firepower they need behind them. You know, Big Brother with the M60 or the M240 Bravo, you know, the new modern day M60. So guess what? That ain't counting all the other fun little toys they have, like jets and rockets and mortars, stuff like that. So unless you're in that type of scenario, you ain't really got to worry about it, right? Okay. The other thing, polymer. You know, your new high-tech polymer handguns. What is polymer? Well, I'm going to give you the short version instead of the long, drug-out scientific version. Polymer is a molecule. It is bonded together, which makes plastic. Okay? Plastic. The same plastic they use to build your car, same plastic your cell phone and your computer and your TV and all these other little wonderful things that we have today. Plastic. Okay? Now, don't misunderstand. I'm not ditching on a polymer gun. But I do have a question, and I want to hear some serious answers. Plastic deteriorates over time due to heat, air, and time. Just like the plastic trim in the dash of your car. After a while, it gets brittle and cracks. How many times have people bought things made out of plastic, and over a period of time, it just naturally degrades? It's plastic. I mean, you know, I had a gentleman that is a very knowledgeable gun guy make that remark to me. In 1911, if you bought one of these bad boys brand new when they hit the commercial market, back turn of the century, a little after, and if you kept it, passed it down to your son, they passed it down to their son or whatever, them guns are over 100 years old. Granted, you may have to replace a barrel because depending on how much it's shot, the barrel gets wore out. You may have to, you know, replace the extractor. They do wear out. But the frame and slide and all that is made out of steel. Now, before I have somebody yell at me and say, well, yeah, but Carbine Cowboy, they made the lightweight Commander that had an aluminum frame. It did. And the reason why they don't make them anymore, or at least to my knowledge, is because I had a problem with the aluminum frames cracking. Yeah, that's why they're made out of steel. This is a Colt. Belonged to my mother. She bought it brand new in 1990. And chances are, when I get to be a very old man, I'm going to pass it down to one of my sons or one of my grandkids. And as long as they take care of it and properly maintain it, they can pass it down to their kids and so on and so on and so forth. But the point that he was trying to make was with a polymer gun being made of plastic, and with man knowing the limitations of plastic and how long it lasts, will a polymer gun be around in 100 years, or will the frame on them start to deteriorate and crack? Honest question. Now, I'm not a scientist. I don't deal in plastic. My degree falls more into archaeology. Okay? History. Digging up dead people. That kind of shit. Right? Okay? But, will a polymer gun, if used, not abused, I said used, will that plastic frame last as long as a steel one? I'd like to hear some of your guys' response to that, because nobody's really been able to give an answer to it. Now, back to my original point. Why do so many people diss the 1911? I don't know. Because man always wants the bigger, better thing. But I mean, come on, stop thinking about it. How many of you guys out there would love to have a 1967 GTO? Or a Mint 58 Vet? Or, you know, a real Shelby Cobra? You know, or, I don't know, a 64.5 Mustang? They're collector's items, man. And guess what? Back in the day, you could buy one of them those bad boys for $2,000, $3,000. Today, if properly restored and taken care of, you ain't touching one for under about $40,000 to $50,000, and that's minimum. So, you know, they talk about them being old and outdated. Well, what about us? some of us people are kind of getting old and outdated according to that philosophy. But, here's the but. Everybody gets old. Everybody gets set in their ways. Everybody has opinions. And the one thing I found, the older you get, the less tolerance you have. And if people want to argue that with me, well, I know I do. You know, I've gotten older, and I have very little tolerance for some things anymore. My son, who I have a lot of respect for, made a remark to me here just a night or two ago. He says, Dad, he says, you gotta learn how to talk to people. You can't be blunt. You gotta learn how to talk to people. My son, in some ways, is a better man than me. Why? Because he will actually take the time to try to explain something to some people and waste a lot of time and energy to politely put his point across. I have no tolerance for that. I'm blunt. I'm sorry. That's the way I am. But 1911, people hate it because it's old. But old will still kill you just as dead as new. So, and a lot of people like the 1911, the grip, trigger, and if you can shoot it and shoot it well, why not? Who cares if it's outdated? Revolvers are old and outdated. People still carry them too. Now one day, that fancy Tupperware Glock you're carrying, it's going to be outdated too. Guaranteed. Who knows? By then, we may be like Buck Rogers and have laser pistols, you know? Just something to think about, me being a smart aleck. But from the great state of Montana, I'll see you next time.